Sometimes parents find themselves having to tell their children over and over again to get something done. And finally, they have to get angry before their kids respond. They'll say to us something like, I have to get angry. That's the only thing that my children respond to. And I want to talk to you about that because that is what we call an action point, the point where your children know that you mean business and you're going to take action. I would suggest we can develop other action points. We don't have to use anger. Anger is a very common action point, and parents use that because it works. I mean, if you want to get your kids to be quiet, you can yell at them. Or if you want to get them out the door, you can yell at them. And yes, it works, but it has this damaging effect because anger damages relationships and it hinders the closeness that we want. And it affects a child's self-concept as the angers often appears as harshness and meanness to that child. So we really want to develop some new tools for defining this action point. And I think parents benefit often when they change the action point so that children know when they mean business without having to get angry. What is your action point? How do your children know? Ask them and they'll tell you. They know when it is. If you say to your child, how do you know when I mean business? That is, when I'm serious about something. Kids know that. They'll say something like your eyes get big and your neck sticks out or that vein starts bulging on the side of your neck. Kids know. Usually it's the intensity of our voice that demonstrates something, and we can do it differently. I would suggest that using word cues is often a better way to communicate to a child that you mean business. That means starting maybe with the child's name, Billy, then saying you need to, because the word need to appeals to the conscience, this sense of obligation. You need to now. Well, that's giving kids some real clear indications that this is what you expect to be done right away. This isn't a suggestion. This isn't an idea. This isn't just a question I'm asking you. This is something I expect you to do, and I expect you to do it right now. So to start with the child's name, say you need to, and say now is often a great way to communicate your action. I think it's a loving thing that we do with our children. It's not being mean. It's just making it clear that this is one of those times when I'm serious about this and it needs to get done. I think it's very helpful for us to be able to clarify that. And you might need to have a meeting with your child and say, I know that sometimes I tell you to do something over and over again before I actually expect you to do it. And so I'm going to change that because I think it's wearing on our relationship. And I don't think sometimes you know whether I'm serious or not. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you one time to do something, and I'm going to expect you to respond to it right away. And when I tell you to do that, then I want you to go ahead and do it. And so we're going to practice that. If you don't, then I'm going to have to give you a consequence or something. And I don't want to do that. Ask yourself this question. If your child doesn't do what you've told them to do, what do you do next? Maybe besides yelling, do you offer a consequence? Say, this is what we're going to do? Well, maybe you just need to move to that more quickly. So here's what it looks like, I think, in practical terms. You say to a child, Billy, you need to come to the table now. And Billy's ignoring you. You might get closer to Billy and say, Billy, I've told you need to come to the table. You need to come now. Now, that often will solve the problem because now Billy knows you mean it and it's serious. But if not, you might say, okay, look, you didn't do what I said. This is what's going to happen. And you might offer some kind of a consequence or some kind of a losing of a privilege or something like that. So what we're doing is we're helping children realize that our words are important. I think this is what God expects us to do as parents when he says in Ephesians 6:1, children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. What is obedience? Obedience is doing what someone says right away without being reminded. That's what obedience is all about. And children learn that. And I think God has hidden within obedience the secret ingredients that children need to be successful in life. And one of those is to respond to you when you give an instruction. So tighten your action point, look at your action point, see what it looks like, and you'll be able to see some change in your child as you're trying to develop this working relationship with them in the getting things done department.